Hey everyone, it's Beth. Start in 5 minutes, so it's 8:25 right now. We'll start at 8:30. We're starting this live now so that you can find it and get ready so that you can come watch it. If you have a question for us, just drop it in the questions here, and we will try to ask it while we're live. We'll see you all in 5 minutes. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're going to start now. I'm going to add our guests in. We have Rebecca from Mountain to Sea Homeschool Association. Sorry, having to read acronyms at 8:30 at night is hard. Okay, we have Maria, who is on our Kidding Around team. And we have Morgan Wilson, who runs a local group called the South Carolina Homeschool Mom. So I was thinking, first of all, when we start, we should just go around and each of you should introduce yourself, because you'll be able to do it better than me, as tongue-tied as I am this time of night, and just tell us who you are and about your experience homeschooling. So Rebecca, you want to start us?
Sure. My name is Rebecca Stone. I am the administrator of Mountain to Sea Homeschool Association located in Clinton, South Carolina. We cover the entire state of South Carolina. Beside me is my daughter, Anna Walton. She is a homeschool graduate. And we have homeschooled since she was in second grade.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. We're glad to have you today. What about you, Morgan?
Hey, I'm Morgan, and I homeschool both of my girls who are 12 and 10 years old. We've been doing this now for about 4 or 5 years, and I also run the South Carolina Homeschool Mom. It's a Facebook group for to meet other homeschool moms and set up field trips and everything.
Which, by the way, I have put a link to both Rebecca's Homeschool Association and Morgan's group in this in the post with this video. So if you want to go check those out, you can also like their pages and go to their group to find out more about them. Okay, Maria, tell us about you.
I'm Maria. I have 4 children that I homeschool. My youngest, we're just finishing up first grade, and my oldest is just finishing up 6th grade. This is the 6th year that we've been homeschooling.
Well, thank you so much to all of you for joining us. For those of us who are watching, we have looked for a wide variety of people. I have found some people who also have experience with public school online, not just homeschooling. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about how to legally homeschool in South Carolina. We're going to talk about curriculum. In fact, we have like 10 questions, so we're going to try to get through as much as we can. If you have a question, please drop it in the comments, and we will try to get to those as soon as we can while we go. But we do have a lot of material to cover, so just put them there in the comments, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. So let's just start out by talking about how do you actually legally homeschool in South Carolina. And Rebecca, since you own a homeschool association, we're going to let you answer this question.
Okay. To legally homeschool in South Carolina, you actually have 3 different options. The first option is homeschooling through your local school district, which a lot of people find that is very intimidating because you actually have to fill out paperwork at the district office. You have to be put on a waiting list. It's up to the district if they actually approve you. Option 2 is through SCAIS, the South Carolina Association of Independent Homeschools. They are really good. They help with curriculum advice and everything. I have been able to talk to them a few times. We actually looked at them when we first started homeschooling. We did homeschool with them for about half a year just to get our feet wet. Option 3 is what most people choose. It's where you pick an association that has 50 plus members. You can find a list of all Option 3 homeschool associations on the Department of Education website. You can also find it on homeschoolingsc.org website. And through Morgan's group, just asking, for recommendations and hearing what everybody says.
Yes, and I know one of the reasons why I reached out to Rebecca is I know her group is a popular one that a lot of people do use. I've seen great things said about Rebecca. Rebecca, can you tell us with the Homeschool Association, I know a lot of people actually get a lot of help through their Homeschool Association too. Is that true?
Yeah, well, it's based upon different associations. Some associations are more hands-on. Some associations are more hands-off. So it depends on up to the association on which one you choose. For us personally, I'm a very hands-on person. My families know that they can send me a Facebook message. They can send me an email any time of the night. And if I'm up or unavailable, I will be answering their questions. They can call me during the daytime. If they get my voicemail, I'm calling them back with at least in a day. I'm finding out, what they needed and helping them. And that's what everybody has said they love about us is that it can be 11 o'clock at night and they'll send me a Facebook question, and I'm right there answering it to the best of my knowledge.
That's really good. Rebecca, can I just ask you to move a little bit further over? You're there. I just want to make sure we can see you.
We know that.
Anna, but we do want to see you too.
Okay.
So I know one of the other things I was wondering if you could just clarify for us as we begin about how to homeschool is, can we talk about, maybe Maria can talk about this too, the difference between pandemic schooling, that's what I'm going to call what we're doing right now if you're in public school. We're like learning at home, but it's a little different depending on what we're doing, but we're doing it at the public school, versus homeschooling and public school at home. So just like charter public school. Can you explain the differences between those?
Pandemic schooling would be pretty much, what most everybody's doing now. It's where the school systems are either giving the children assignments via computer or packets that are being sent home, and they're giving them, it's pretty much parents are in charge of what they do. I think some teachers are doing Google Live lessons and Zoom meetings and various different things depending upon what district you're in. Homeschooling itself, it all depends. That's a question that's like, which way do you go? Whether if you are choosing to unschool your child or if you're choosing to use a curriculum, you as the parent are in charge of what your child learns, when they learn it, how they learn it. You're as a parent, you're your principal of your pretty much private school is what we call it. And then the public school at home, that would be like Connections Academy, K-12. I think Whitmore is a high school version that we have in South Carolina. It's pretty much you are following the exact same rules as a public school. You're just online on the computer.
Okay. And for those of you watching, we will come back to public school online because I know Morgan has a lot of experience with that too. So we will come back and talk more about what that looks like and get some of Morgan's opinions on it as well. Before we go on though about legally homeschooling, I was wondering if you could address like the different requirements, like how many days you have to do and whether or not you need to tell your school if your child is currently enrolled in a public school, if you need to inform them that you're starting homeschool.
Homeschooling under option 3, which is the most popular, which is what we are. We're an option 3 association. It's very simple. You do, once you register with an association, your association should give you either a membership letter or a withdrawal letter. You just either email that letter to the school district or you take it up to the school district and let them know that you're formally withdrawing to homeschool. Once you do that, you're free to homeschool your child however you want. The law states you have to school 180 days a year, and most associations' calendars run, like for our association calendar runs from July 1st of one year till June the 30th of next year. So we give our families 365 days to school 180 days. And that does not count just Monday through Friday. Saturday, Sunday, 7 days a week counts as homeschooling under option 3. You are required to keep a plan book or a diary. I used to do ours weekly of what we just covered that week. It doesn't have to be something laid out like teacher planning and that kind of stuff. And you have to keep a student portfolio of what your child does.
Okay. So let me go back to my questions. So let's talk about public school online a little bit. I know we've mentioned it because I've had a lot of people who are emailing questions about like if the schools provide curriculum, and I think maybe they're confusing homeschooling and public school online. So I was wondering, Morgan, you have done public school online for many years. Is that correct? Can you hear us, Morgan? Let me just check. Morgan,
yes.
Maybe. Okay, good. You've done public school online before. Can you just tell us a little bit about how it works and maybe some of the pros and cons of doing public school online versus actually homeschooling?
The online schooling, it was a lot of computer time. The child or my kids were in front of the computer most of the day, and there was required live lessons that they had to attend. And certain deadlines like you were in regular school where you had to get certain assignments completed. Whereas in traditional homeschooling, you don't have that deadline. You can take your time.
Okay. Did you have anything, Rebecca, that you wanted to add to that from your experience doing public school online?
My experience is the same with Morgan's. We actually tried Connections Academy and also K-12 with Anna, but due to her asthma and all, and have to be required to be in front of the computer, there was some days she had to sit in front of the computer 6+ hours a day and then have another 4+ hours of homework that she had to do. And then the live lessons coincided with her having to have her nebulizer treatments, and it wasn't working. And it did not go slow for her or anything. I mean, if you missed something, you had to play hard to catch up.
Okay. And for those of you who have heard of it, it is free if you do public school online because it is public school.
Yes.
But you have to have a computer. And just to clarify, from my own research, like Rebecca and Morgan are saying, you do have requirements that you have to hit. You're not doing it yourself or in charge.
Correct.
But your kid does have teachers. So did you
Yes.
find that the teachers were helpful?
Yes and no. Some years for us, we had one teacher who was wonderful. She called almost every couple of days, and we spoke with her. We actually got to meet her on a couple of field trips. But then there was one year that we never even spoke to our teacher unless it was just strictly online.
Okay. Yeah, so like anything, sometimes it's a hit or miss. And like, if you guys are watching, sorry if I seem distracted, I'm trying to look at the questions. So just keep on throwing them in the comments and we'll get to them as soon as we can. So let's talk about curriculum, and we'll let Maria start. She hasn't had a chance to talk yet. So I would like to hear each of your opinion on how do you recommend choosing curriculum? Because I'm hearing from so many people that this is very overwhelming. You're like, okay, I'm going to homeschool. And you're like, oh my goodness, there's 100 curriculums out there. So Maria, tell us how do you choose a curriculum?
Well, I think the first thing to remember is that if you have a library card, you have access to really a world-class education right there. You don't have to spend a lot of money on a curriculum. One of the things my kids love to do is pick a nonfiction book at the library, read it, and then present it to the family in a poster form or something like that. So you don't, just right off the bat, you don't have to have a full curriculum for every subject if you don't want to. I think probably for the curriculums that I have chosen, asking other veteran homeschool parents, what they like and why they like it. I love the homeschool conventions, and unfortunately that's not an option for people right now but I love to have stuff in my hands where I can go through it. So there actually are some local homeschool stores. There's one in Lyman. Actually, you can go, and a lot of that's actually secondhand, so you get a used price on it, which is helpful. And you can just sort of look through it and see what you like. But a lot of it depends on what you want for your family. If you want something that is out of the box and you can pull it out and it says day 1, this is what you have to read and this is the assignment you have to do, those exist. And then there's some that are more per subject, and you get to sort of pick and choose what you do. And even if you choose something which is a all-in-one, here's day 1, here's day 2, you don't have to hit every single thing. And it's very overwhelming, I think, when you open up those sometimes. You open up a curriculum and you think, oh, there's 75 steps for day 1. Well, you don't have to actually do all 75. You're the parent and you get to choose what's best for your child. I don't know if that was helpful.
No, it is. What about you, Morgan? What is your advice for choosing a curriculum? I think Morgan might be having trouble hearing us. So, okay. Rebecca, what is your advice for choosing a curriculum? I'm sure Morgan will catch back up with us when she can.
For me, I always tell parents that when it's time, when you sign up to homeschool and you get ready to start looking for a curriculum, take a couple weeks and learn your child first. Some kids do better hands-on. Some kids, like Anna, she done better doing her own stuff. So that's why we use Alpha Omega Life Packs. And then some kids learn better working on the computer, having a live teacher in front of you. So you have different options for that as well, too. Even under option 3, you can choose to sign up with Liberty University Online Academy, or, there's just so many different ways to even look at curriculum. But I always tell parents, learn your child first and see what they like to do and how they best learn. Because even me as a parent, I learned that I'm totally different from the way Anna learned. I was always a hands-on learner. She can read a book and pick it up immediately.
And I guess this is a great time to do that. I mean, that's the one thing. Our kids are home and we're having to teach them, so we're kind of getting to figure that out a little bit. What about you, Morgan? What advice do you have? Morgan, can you hear us? We'll just go ahead. We'll go to the next question, and we'll try to catch back with Morgan when she's able to hear us. What, in your opinion, is the biggest mistake that you see new homeschool parents make? Do you want to start this one, Rebecca?
Sure. The biggest mistake I found that homeschool parents make is doubting themselves. We as moms always doubt ourselves for everything we do with our children. But we have to stop and think that we are the best teachers for our children. That's what we were led to do as becoming their parents. Other than that, I mean, just go with the flow. You don't have to have a set, timeline or anything to do everything each day. Just go with the flow of your children.
That's good. What about you, Maria?
I think similarly, people tend to think that homeschooling means you need to be schooling Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And really, that's not, that may work for your family, but that doesn't have to be that way. I know for my family, sometimes math doesn't happen and it has to wait till daddy's home. And after dinner, we sit down and do our math, and that's okay. It's really about figuring out what's going to work for your family and not trying to copy anybody else.
Yeah, I agree.
That's helpful. What
and
about
I found too, it's easier. You get overwhelmed at the very beginning, but don't be afraid to ask questions. I did that when I got started. I was very overwhelmed with the start of how I was going to do things and pick curriculum and everything else. But if you ask questions, I promise they're not dumb.
That's helpful. That's very helpful. What advice do you have for parents that are just looking at homeschooling temporarily until school goes back to normal? And do you have any advice for those who might have children in public school that are looking at doing this right now if school doesn't look normal in the fall, or they don't feel like it's a good fit for their family in the fall, but they want their kids to go back to public school? And I know, especially Rebecca, you had talked to me a little bit about some things that you have encountered before in your help with other families in this area. So if you want to start by addressing that.
The biggest advice I could give is definitely for that, keep good records. Make sure you are writing down at least weekly what you're doing in your homeschool. If you're doing something that's online or more hands-on that doesn't really have a workbook or book type work to it, take little videos or pictures of what your children are doing so you can show the school. Because when you do register for school again, they're going to want to see your student portfolio. They're going to want to see your grade book. They're going to want to see what you did in school during that period of time. So definitely keep good records. Another thing that we have noticed that a bunch of us administrators have noticed is high school are given a lot more they're giving more feedback to us now that if you do decide to put your children back in school in their 9th through 12th grade, they may be required to take the standardized test. And then unfortunately, that's something we have no control over. That's set forth by Department of Education now that the end of course testing and all has, they have to meet them requirements.
Okay, that's good to know. What about extracurriculars? Like, I know that I've been asking my school, can my kids still be in choir if I homeschool them? Have you heard anything about that, Rebecca, whether things like that are usually allowed in South Carolina?
As long as it's listed as an extracurricular activity. The only feedback we've pushed back from the schools we have is like ROTC and band, because they are classified as an actual class now where you actually earn high school credits. Okay. They're not wanting homeschoolers join them. But if it's listed like baseball, football, things like that, as long as they meet the high school leagues requirements, they can join them teams, no problem.
Okay, that's good to know. So I have a question. I'm a boy. A lot of times, like, people will say, and I know this is like a hot button for homeschoolers, but they'll say, well, what about socialization? So, but, you know, it is a legitimate question. Like, how do your kids make friends? I think that's just what people wonder. Like, well, how do my kids make friends if they're home all day? So, Maria, do you want to start by, like, answering this? How do your kids make friends?
Well, our church, actually, a lot of my children have their very good friends are from church, but when we're not in a pandemic situation, we are gone pretty much every afternoon. I've got a child who's in a band. There's a band at Converse College that he's in. There's trumpet lessons, there's cello lessons. My daughter has dance classes. We're going all the time, and they're making friends there. All those places that they go. So actually that speaks to the extracurricular component as well, because you can do a lot of those extracurricular activities outside of the public school system too.
All right. What about you, Rebecca? How did Anna make friends?
I have an introvert child, so mine was she has a best friend that actually lives right across the street from us, and that's been her number one friend. Other than doing youth group at church and going to play Dungeons and Dragons with people at various comic book stores and things like that, I mean, we never did the actual extracurricular part because that just wasn't her. And I wasn't going to push that on her. So it's pretty much, I mean, like Maria said, there's a lot of aspects of how you can do it. The Star Center in Spartanburg has homeschool football, homeschool track. I mean, they've got every kind of sport you could want up there that's available to homeschoolers.
And we do have a homeschool guide on Kidding Around Greenville. I should have put it in the post here, but I'll put it up later. That actually has a list of all the different co-ops that we know that are open to the public and the homeschool classes. And, you know, like we've been saying right now, obviously not everything is running, but hopefully by fall, you know, we'll see a lot of that open up again. And if you are putting comment questions, I see them all coming in. Like, we are going to get to them, I promise. So one thing we were asked was, where are the best places for people to go find information on homeschooling? I know someone emailed me and said, like, is there like a go-to spot or like a start here spot? I'm sure there's probably a lot of start here spots, but what is like your top place where you say, go here to get information?
For me personally, I always recommend homeschoolingsc.org. It is a blog site, but it is wonderful. It is pretty much for me throughout my whole homeschool career, and even now, I call it the homeschool Bible. I mean, Kim makes sure that there's every little aspect of information you could want on that site. And then definitely join your local homeschooling sites. Or the South Carolina Homeschooling Mom site is wonderful to learn more information from everybody else.
What about you, Maria? Do you have any spots you usually direct people to?
Yeah, our homeschool guide, the Kidding Around homeschool guide, is usually where I send people.
And our homeschool guide is good. It has a lot of information on it. If you read the article that I wrote that we put up earlier today and I have it in the post, there is a link also to the site that Rebecca mentioned in there, as well as our homeschool guide. So both of those are in there. Okay, so I have a question that came in over email that was too long to put in on StreamYard. So I'm going to just read it, and then I'm going to start going through our comments and take some of those questions. In the panel's opinion, do you think homeschooling would be a good option for the 2020-2021 year, especially with little ones? My son is 5 and will start kindergarten this year. He can be pretty sensitive, and I don't want his first year in public school to completely freak him out. For the most part, we've been able to shield him from a lot of this corona craziness. And I just want to say, first of all, like, I forgot to say this in the beginning, but like, regardless of your choices, I think kids are really resilient. You know, I think sometimes we think like they'll get freaked out if they go to public school and like things are weird, but kids are like remarkably able to adapt. So I would say, first of all, like, if you feel like you need to send your kid to public school, don't think your kids are just going to like freak out and die. Like, they are going to be so resilient, and they're going to figure out ways of coping, and they will be okay. You know, like, if you're good, being a good parent and being there for your kids is way more important than, you know, just where your kid goes to school next year. Hopefully I said that clearly. I mean, like, in a way that made sense. Sorry. I like a late night, I start like losing it. I think everyone can tell. But so, do you guys have any answer to this mom who's concerned about her small child? What would you say to her?
Kindergarten is really fun. I mean, it's school, homeschooling kindergarten. It's you know, maybe an hour's worth of work every day. It's just, it's fun. It's playing. One of the things that really got me started homeschooling was because I felt like I was giving somebody else the best part of my kid's day. You know, I wanted to spend that time with them. And kindergarten, I mean, Rebecca, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can sign a waiver in South Carolina. You don't actually have to send your child to kindergarten.
Right.
So, I mean, you could just read fantastic books and, you know, do some math things, you know, quantitative games, and just enjoy your time with your son.
I agree with Maria. I mean, kindergarten's the best year ever. I mean, you don't even technically even have to use a curriculum or nothing. Watch Blue's Clues on TV, watch PBS Kids, play games like Hi-Ho Cheerio, matching. And if you want to do like workbooks and all, go to Dollar Tree and buy the little dollar workbooks they have that are wonderful. Go to the library, go to your parks, go just learn around you and just spend that time with your child. And if you decide that, you know, it's something that, you know, that you enjoy doing and all, then keep it up. But I mean, like Maria said, yes, South Carolina does have the waiver. You just have to go to the school and actually sign it. And all you're doing is stating that you're not going to send him for kindergarten, but he will be ready to enter first grade when that time comes. He will actually be on first grade level.
Yes, and you can easily go to the schools and find out their standards for the different grades if you're curious, or like, I want to know what my kid needs to know to be on level for first grade. All of that information is on the public school websites too. You need that. Okay, so we have a ton of questions in the comments, and I'm going to start pulling them. Okay, so we did have, I can probably answer this one. Crystal was asking like why we're doing this, if there's already something that has been discussed for the fall. So Crystal, I'm going to try to clarify this. Right now, there is nothing that has been stated for the fall other than the options that they're working on. So I did put a link in my article that I wrote that's in the post that's to the interview that Molly Spearman did with Amy Wood a week ago, and she just, it's like a 12-minute interview, and she just talks about like the task force that they have and the different options they're looking at. But they are looking at potentially some things like not having all the kids there at the same time, so some staggered schooling, or possibly even, you know, whether or not they have to do e-learning longer. So those things have not been outruled. And Molly Spearman did say, was it likely it would look normal? So what that looks like, I don't think any of us know. So that's my unofficial answer, because I'm not expert, but that's why a lot of us are looking at homeschooling, because some of us, our kids just do not deal well with change, or we're just like kind of looking at homeschool as a way to check out like craziness. Like, that's kind of where I am. I just like, I don't know what's going on in school, but if I homeschool, then I can just like check that off my list and move on and homeschool instead. But when you read my article, you can kind of see like where I've been thinking with all that. Okay, let us see. Rebecca, someone said hello to you. Your Zita, I cannot say her name.
Ramos.
Zita. Did I say it right? Is she your
I
friend?
just call her Miss Ramos.
Hello to Anna. Thank you for telling us, for checking in tonight, Anna. Okay, Catherine wants to know if we can provide some of those links in the notes. Catherine, at this point, I'm not sure which links you're referring to, but if you can just tell us which ones you would like, we'll make sure that we will include those. And yes. Catherine, can you get help building your curriculum from the homeschool networks? I think maybe Catherine means the homeschool associations. Rebecca, do you want to answer this?
As far as help, as in like actually purchasing curriculum for parents and all, Me personally, I love shopping the Goodwill. So when I do find anything that can be used as a homeschool curriculum, I do buy it. It's only $1 to $2 for books at the at the Goodwill store. So I actually offer it to my members just free. Just pay for the shipping to get it to you, or if you can come to me and pick it up, then you can have it for free. It's something I do offer for my families. As far as building your curriculum, like Maria said, there's a homeschool store in Lyman. There's also a great homeschool store called Learning Cycle in Greenville. They just recently moved to a new location, but they do have a Facebook page that you can go and look at curriculums and get either brand new curriculums or used curriculums. And then you have various buy, sell, trade homeschool curriculum sites all over Facebook that you can get used curriculum for really, really cheap. And then you can choose not to use a curriculum at all. You can make up your own or find something online.
Yeah, that's true. I know one thing I did was I'm looking at some curriculum, and for me, like having something I could like still work at home and feel like, my kids could work independently was really important. So what I did was I joined Facebook groups related to the curriculums that were like my top choices, and like saw the different questions people were posting in there and the different issues and like positive things they were saying. And I felt like that helped give me like a little bit of an idea of like, okay, these will be the things that might be bad about this curriculum, and these will be the good things, so that I can make a choice.
And then also remember about curriculum, you're not stuck with that curriculum. So if you get into halfway through the year and it's just not working, your kids are giving you pushback after pushback, don't hesitate to change it up. Find what works best for your child and for you both.
That's good advice. Melanie would like to know what unschooling is.
Unschooling is pretty much life school. I don't know who else named it unschooling, but we call it pretty much life school. You don't have a set curriculum. You don't have a set timeline to do. You pretty much learn life. You take daily life that you normally have, like cooking, keeping up a car, whatever, and turn that into that's your school. You learn about what's in your backyard. You make your own curriculum, your own design. There's some wonderful Facebook groups and also wonderful websites for unschooling to learn more about it and to better explain it.
Okay, so you can check those out if you would like more information. Jennifer Neal would like to know, what curriculum do you use? Maria, do you want to share what curriculum you use?
Sure. For math, we're using Right Start Math this year, and we're going to keep going with it next year. It's somewhat Montessori based. It's got some hands-on components. For my children, we had been doing some which were online, teaching textbooks and Monarch, which are good, but my kids learned that they could just click through and not actually learn anything. So we switched to something which I work from home. So I needed something that was going to force me to sit down with them and make sure that they were going through those components. Math for us is just tough. They're good at it, but it's just tough to do it. So something like Right Start makes us go through it. And then for our history, we use Biblioplan, which is actually history and literature combined. And I love it because it differentiates based on the level. So it works for all of my kids, and it just has different writing assignments for different levels, it recommends different individual books for the kids to read based on, younger children and middle-aged children and older children. So it's something that will work for us for a while. And then science, we just kind of do what we want to do for science. We go to the library, we get science books that sound interesting. We'll probably move to a more formal curriculum next year as my children get older. But we like the Kiwi Crate boxes and different experiments that you can do. A lot of that stuff you can find online. You don't have to actually get the boxes. You can just, use stuff in your recycle bin. So did I get them all? Oh, handwriting. I love handwriting without tears. And they have a writing component called Building Writers that we use.
Thank you. What about you, Rebecca?
We started out with Abeka when Anna was in the lower grades. Then we went to Time for Learning, which is all online, and she loved it all the way up through middle school, where it started getting kind of kiddie-ish because it is set up like a computer game. So a lot of the younger kids do love it. We finally finished with Alpha Omega Life Packs. They're little tiny individual 10-unit workbooks that she knew that she had to complete at least 2 pages out of each subject a day. We ended up breaking up our week to where we concentrated on 1 subject a day. And then our Fridays was kind of our fun days that we took and went on field trips, explored the world around us, pretty much. We did not do Algebra 1 or any of the higher maths because she didn't need it for college. So I wasn't even going to try to beat my head up to teach it to her because I'm not good in algebra.
Brittany says, I really want to homeschool, but I'm so intimidated by the whole process. Any tips for first-time homeschool mom? I'm interested in the Bob Jones Press curriculum, but I don't know where to start. And I will say, Brittany, there is a online community for the Bob Jones Press curriculum if you want to look at that. I do know there is one there, and they actually have some sales going on right now.
Yes,
just so you know. And they have a return policy until July. So just a tip there for you, Brittany. What about you guys? What do you have to say for Brittany?
Well, the very first year I homeschooled, someone said to me, "You've been homeschooling since the day they were born." Mm-hmm. And that's absolutely true. You've not been teaching them, reading and writing. Maybe you have been, but you have been teaching them since the day they were born. You're their mom, and you can totally teach them. So don't be intimidated by it. There is a lot of help out there, and I can't speak to the Bob Jones curriculum. I don't know it, but just want to encourage you that you absolutely can do it.
Do you have anything to add to that, Rebecca?
I agree 100% with Maria. We as moms have been teaching our children since they were first born. We taught them how to walk. We taught them how to read books when they were 2 and 3 years old when we were sitting there reading with them. So, you can teach your child. Yes, it is intimidating when you first start. I will say that. Even all the way through 12th grade, it can still be intimidating. That's just being a parent to all of us. We always question if we're doing the right things with our children.
That is
I have used Bob Jones Press for a little while. If you are close to Greenville, you can actually go to Bob Jones University to their homeschool store, and you can meet one-on-one with some of their advisors, and they are wonderful people to answer questions. As far as where to get started, that would be, since you want to use Bob Jones, that would be finding a option 3 homeschool group that fits your family dynamic. Call and talk to each administrator, ask questions, go to our website, and find out which one meets exactly what you're wanting. Don't be afraid to call us and ask questions. That's what we're here for.
That's good advice. Jennifer says, how do you know if your kids are meeting the standards for their grade levels? And I know there's a lot of different opinions on this, but I think too we need to address for parents whose kids may go back into public school, this may be a very real concern for them. So what would you say, Rebecca?
There's a bunch of websites, and you can also get the standards for each grade level off the South Carolina Department of Education website. You can also search 3rd grade public school standards, and you can see what they need to, what each school. You can also contact your school itself and get the standards from them, from teachers, if you are good friends with a teacher, and you can base your curriculum off them standards if you want to.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add to that, Maria?
No, not really, because my children aren't in public school. So I do try to, I want to make sure that they're keeping up. So there are assessments in most of your curriculums. And then little things like there's a program online called Dreambox for Math, and that's basically math games, but it has a parent side of the program, and it shows you what your child has learned and what grade level it aligns with. So things like that help me to know that they're meeting just general guidelines for their grade level.
And so I was with Maria. Anna didn't go back to public school, and so we didn't worry about standards for any grades. She graduated at age 15 with her high school diploma. So we never worried about standards. We just go with the child.
And I will say for me, I mean, I know I'm not like experienced homeschool parent, so take this for what it is. But my kids, if we draw them out, we are planning on putting them back in. So we're going with a traditional curriculum that's pretty much on grade level. It's, not the exact curriculum they use at their school, but it's close enough where, for me, that gives me peace of mind of being like, okay, I'm reasonably sure they'll be doing the same things as what they would be doing in public school. So that's one way that you can handle it too. I have a question. It's a little bit long, so I'm just going to read out loud. I have always wanted to homeschool. However, I am a single mom. I'm a music teacher and have flexibility to come and go during the noon hour. My son has asthma too, and I would rather him not return to public school in the fall. He is a rising 8th grader. What do you think the best option is? I know the public school homeschool requires the parent to start the lessons with him. However, I would not be able to do that. I would have to sign in between sessions. And then her comment kind of broke off. Let me see. Okay, so I couldn't see the end of it, but I think we get the gist of it. Obviously, Jennifer, we can't tell you what's the best thing for you. I'll just start by saying that because none of us know. Like, you're the mom, and I think you probably know better than us. But like, Rebecca, like if Jennifer were calling you, what would you tell her?
If your son's in 8th, she said what, 8th grade?
Yes, 8th grade. And he has asthma.
He's old enough that if you leave the assignments, I'm sure you could trust him to start them on, for him to start his assignments on his own every day and just come, check on him, make sure they're getting them done and be there, in the afternoons, work together with him for any questions he may have or anything. And I mean, as long as she feels comfortable leaving him home for, a period of time by himself, I have a feeling he will be just fine homeschooling. Do
you have anything to add to that, Maria? I know your kids are a little younger. My kids are younger too, so unfortunately, not good at that yet.
But truly, like my sixth grader is at an age now where he's independent in probably 75% of what he's doing. So
that is encouraging. Jennifer, we didn't fully answer your question. Just let us know in the comments. Stephanie asks, when you choose a curriculum, does that generally come with lesson plans, worksheets, etc.?
It can sometimes. There are curriculums out there, like something like Sunlight or a Bookshark, that are, you order it, everything comes in the box that you need. You open it, it says day 1, do this, and you do that. It's got your lesson plans, it's got all the worksheets. I find it's really helpful to have a printer copying machine because, if you're going to have another kid use the worksheets, it's good to have, if you have multiple children that you're schooling. But not all curriculums are like that. And I've used those before and I liked it for getting started. So, I mean, you could do that for your first go, but like I said before, you'll open it up and there'll be 75 things to do on day 1, and you don't have to do all 75.
That's good. Yeah, I think that answers it. Courtney said something was offensive that we phrased. Courtney, I'm sorry if we offended you. We are not trying to imply that homeschoolers are home all the time. So I'm not sure what we said, but I think Maria and Rebecca would both say they're not home all the time. Right now, some of us are home all the time. But,
no, I
didn't mean to imply that if that's what it sounded like. Okay, so I have another question. Sorry, there are so many questions here, so if it looks like I'm over here looking, it's because Jennifer wants to know how many actual hours of schooling is required per day to meet the standards.
There are no actual hours of schooling required. That has actually come down from Connections Academy and K-12. They require you to school, I think, at least 4 to 4.5 hours a day, depending upon what grade your child in. But as far as option 3 homeschooling, there is no required hours whatsoever. Your day can be 30 minutes. Your day can be 8 hours. That is strictly up to you on how long you want it to be. The only requirement is you are to school 180 days in a year.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, and Jennifer did clarify with her question. She was wondering if it's possible for a working single parent to homeschool rising 8th graders. So Jennifer, I think we answered that they're saying yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Can we homeschool a child in special ed?
Absolutely. I mean, I've got a bunch of special ed students within our association. There's a bunch of wonderful Facebook groups for families with special needs children. There's actually a homeschool association that specializes in special education children.
And Rebecca, you can still use speech therapies and things through public school as well, right? If you like, you can have an IEP and still use those services.
Yes, each district offers various services to outside students, as we're called. You just have to check with your district to see what's available and how much services are available within that district. Unfortunately, it's not a statewide thing; it's district by district.
That's very helpful. Christina asks from our Canyon Greenville page, if we can talk about homeschooling as a working parent. I know we've touched on this, but maybe it'd be good to discuss it a little bit. Like, Maria, how do you homeschool and work at the same time?
Well, I mean, some days are a little chaotic. Having a routine is really helpful. So I plan to do certain subjects in the morning and then get on my work stuff in the afternoon. It doesn't always work like that. My job is quite flexible, so I'm able to make school the priority, really. I know everybody doesn't have that option, but I would say if you can sort of set aside specific time to focus on school and not on work, that's helpful. And remember, I mean, you can do schooling in the evening. That's okay. You can do schooling on a Saturday. That's okay.
What about you, Rebecca? What is your advice for this?
As far as me, I mean, I work from home too now. We schooled in the evenings. We did not start school till after 4 o'clock because that's when my late husband actually went to work. So the morning times was family time. We did things as a family up until he had to go to work. And then Anna knew that once Daddy went to work, then we sat down and we did school. So it was kind of a trade-off for us as being, Mom was home all day. Daddy had to work. Dad did some things during the daytime because he was better in science and math than I was. So he worked on things with her when he was home while I did some of my work. It's kind of like Maria said, having a schedule kind of works good on that. And don't hesitate to ask, grandma and grandpa and neighbors to even help. Aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters and all can also help too.
That's helpful. Ashley says that we should also interview someone from administration with Cyber Academy of South Carolina. So that's one of the online charter public schools that we talked about earlier. Ashley, yes, we have discussed trying to do that. So if anyone knows a connection with one of the online public schools that would like to come on and talk to us, that's fine. We did talk about some here, but we realize also that both Rebecca and Maria homeschool, so that's obviously their preference. So we will, if we find someone who can speak to the online public school and that's what they're currently using, we will look to schedule that as well. Let's see. Sorry, we have so many questions. And Jennifer did say thank you. Rebecca, you have another person. Bridget said you're earnest in your support of homeschoolers. Jennifer, this question about SC Virtual Academy or K-12, I think that's really something where we would probably need someone who specializes in those to address which is better, because it's probably like a question that might be particular to your family. So we can see if we can get more information on that. Jennifer is asking what is option 3 homeschooling. Rebecca, can you just cover that again really quickly for those who are coming on now, what it means to homeschool through option 3?
Option 3 homeschooling is where you pick an independent association that has 50 plus members. We are all registered with the Department of Education. We have to fill out a form every January that proves that we have our membership that we're supposed to have. We meet all their standards that we have to meet. They have a list. I think there's about 20 or 30 of us that are listed on their website for anybody that wants to find, go through the list and pick out which ones. Most of us cover the entire state of South Carolina. Some associations only cover certain areas. Some associations offer more than others. We're all different priced from, I think the Me and Laura, I think, are the cheapest at like $20, $30 a year. Some go up to $250, $300 a year, depending upon what everybody offers. So that's why we always suggest take the list, get it from the Department of Education or the homeschoolingsc.org website or y'all's website, and call each individual association leader to find out what each of us offers and how that fits in with your families.
And Ashley asks, is there a difference in an association and a co-op?
Yes.
Maria, do you want to explain what the difference is?
Sure. Even if you are a member of a co-op, which would be like a certain day of the week, you would go and you could pick individual classes, and some co-ops are like a full day of classes per grade level. It's just a group of homeschool kids that get together for certain classes. Even if you were a member of a co-op, you would have to join a homeschool association if you were homeschooling under option 3. The co-op is not the association. The co-op is just giving you your classes, some of your classes. The association is how you're schooling legally.
Thank you. Rochelle has a question. This might be one that I can speak some to. I want to homeschool, but my kids say they want to go back to school. I'm wondering if real homeschool would be much different than what we are doing now with virtual school. And having toddlers at home with older kids is so hard. Any suggestions? Well, first of all, I'm not really sure I have great suggestions for the toddlers with older kids, because that's really rough. But I just want to say, like, my kids are in public school right now, so I feel like I have some experience where I can speak to like what we're doing right now. So my kids are in elementary school, and I don't know how this compares to you because it's different from school to school, but they are maybe doing an hour of schoolwork a day. So my daughter has like a math lesson and a science or social studies lesson and maybe an English lesson. And it doesn't take her very long. And if we homeschool, it absolutely will be different, because to me, that's not the level of education that I want my kids to have. So for our family, they will be doing like actual new math concepts. We will be doing social studies and science fuller, where it's not just like a little tiny lesson here or there. We'll be doing spelling again and handwriting again, because we haven't done any of that since we've done pandemic schooling. So for me, I'm telling my kids, if we homeschool, don't think this is what it's going to look like, because we are going to really do school. Now I haven't homeschooled before, so maybe, I'm sure like we'll have to adjust what our idea is, but I know absolutely that we're not going to skip all the stuff we're skipping right now. So I don't know. Do either of you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, I can speak a little bit to the toddlers, because when I started homeschooling, I had little people underfoot. I had a lot of, those board puzzles with the little pigs. And I have like just boxes with cotton balls and random things in them. And those boxes would come out when it was school time and go away when it wasn't school time. Mm-hmm. So it was just kind of something fun for those little people to do while I was trying to do school. And at that time, I was only schooling kindergartners and first graders. So it wasn't really a ton of time sitting at the table either. So there's something to consider too.
That's a good tip. What about you, Rebecca?
For me, the last 2 years that Anna was actually doing high school work, I actually had an in-home daycare where I had 5, 2, and 3-year-olds here for a day. Depending upon the age of your children, most of the time they can probably be independent learners while you are actually with your toddlers. And you will actually be surprised, the toddlers will actually probably sit there and learn along with their older siblings. They enjoy schooling, as they call it themselves. Go to Dollar Tree and pick up, the little coloring books and little workbooks and all that. And they might not understand what they're doing, but just give them to them and let them play in them. Let them do the little play school area. And like Maria said, make busy boards, busy boxes. You could even have it where you are schooling the older kids while they're taking a nap even. Put them down for a nap or quiet time during that 2-hour period or something along them lines, and say, hey, you have to lay in your bed. You can either have a book or whatever, but you can't get out of this spot.
And I'll just add too, we said this at the beginning, but Rochelle, you shouldn't feel guilty though, whatever you choose. I mean, tonight we're just talking about one option, but if your kids want to go back to public school and that's what works best for you, like that's not a bad option either. This is obviously a difficult time where there's a lot of hard decisions all of us are making. So, just do what's best for your family. Robbie Nicole wants to know, do the associations have get-togethers for the kids to socialize?
That is based association by association. We at M2SHA have joined forces with Morgan, and anytime she plans anything, then we share it to our pages. We do try to plan at least 1 or 2 get-togethers throughout the year between Greenville and then also maybe one down in the Low Country for our Low State residents and all to do. But each association offers everything so differently that's another thing why we tell everybody, go to each association, call them, ask them personally what they do.
The association that I'm part of does field trips, and we do book groups that go that have to do with the topic of the field trip ahead of time, things like that. They're all optional, but it's just
And which homeschool association are you part of, Maria?
Carolina Homeschooler.
Okay. Are there any hybrid homeschools in Greenville? For example, 2 days a week in classes with the university model teaching, and then 3 days they learn from home. And she says this is different than classical conversations and co-ops.
I have heard that there is one. I am actually in the process of trying to research that question to find it. I've had several people have made that comment to me that there is one, and how does it work? So I'm actually looking for that answer myself.
Is it Veritas?
It sounds like that's what I would wonder. We think it could be Veritas. If not, I guess if anyone knows the answer to this, they need to let us know.
Yeah, please let us know.
Christina wants to know, how much money should we expect to spend per kid for homeschooling?
That I think is the number one question, isn't it, Maria?
It could be, close to zero, or it could be hundreds. I was thinking about this question earlier. I mean, I just dropped $300 on math curriculum for my kids, 4 of them, but still, but a lot of times we think about the extras, the music lessons and things like that. Those are probably expenses we'd have even if we weren't homeschooling. Yeah. So whether we count those or don't count those. But like I said, you get a library card and you can learn tons of things. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on curriculum either.
And there's also free curriculums online. Easy Peasy All-in-One is a free curriculum that you can use. Time for Learning is only $20 a month per student. And then I think your second student's even less than that if you have double. There's ways to do it for zero. There's ways to do it for, however much money you decide you want to spend.
So, Christine, we're not really sure that helps you, but hopefully you'll be able to figure out for you what is you're going to have to spend. Okay, so I think we've actually gone through all the questions. Thank you all so much for watching tonight. I do have one last question for our panelists. Of course, if you have questions that occur later, you can still put them in the comments and we'll try to answer you if we can later. So my last question is, what would be your top advice to parents who are thinking about homeschooling this fall? Like if you could just tell them one thing. Rebecca, what would you say?
I would probably say if it's something that's in your heart and you feel strongly about, give it a try at least. I mean, it can't hurt. You might, if you've homeschooled through this pandemic, then there is no question that you can't homeschool traditionally this fall. And if it doesn't work out, then that's fine. You can always put your child back in public school if you see that your child just isn't thriving in homeschool. That's the joys of living in South Carolina, I believe, that we have that option. We have a lot of options available to us as parents.
What about you, Maria?
If you're thinking about trying it, try it this summer. Pick a topic, the weather. And, the libraries are open, get some books, find some documentaries, go on Pinterest. Don't spend a ton of time on there because you can waste a lot of time on Pinterest. But, find some projects that look fun, make your different kinds of clouds and just try it and see how it goes and see if you all enjoy it.
That's good advice. I like that. Well, thank you all so much. And thank you to our readers. And we appreciate both Rebecca and Maria coming on with us tonight. We'll see you all later.